Welcome everyone, it's the Crypto Lark, and today I have with me Dean from NOS. Dean, welcome.
Hi, thank you. Great to be here.
Now, before we jump into this, just a quick note for the audience. This is not a sponsored interview, just a project that I think is really interesting and you might want some more information about. And unfortunately, citizens of the US are excluded from the sale. Now, Dean, the obvious question we have to start with is that is a great head of hair. What do you do to keep it looking so good?
I know, I was born with it, man. I came out like this.
Some people just win the lottery, man. What are you going to do?
I mean, we got the same headphones on, by the way, so
That's
I
true.
thought that was pretty cool. Yeah.
Okay, now serious time. Elevator pitch. What is NOS doing?
All right. NOS is a virtual operating system. It's a full stack solution for decentralized application development, deployment, interaction, and discovery. So it has the whole stack solution for developers and for end users. And for both, it's as easy as possible to build and to use.
Very cool. So what are some of the key features then? What would you say are the top 5 cool things that people have to know about NOS?
All right. There's like a summary which I tweeted recently, which I think nicely summarizes some of the features that developers would like, which is there's a blockchain-based sort of AWS solution, which is like Amazon Web Services, right? So you have the full stack for doing everything you need to build and deploy your application, including the name service, file hosting, just like AWS offers that for cloud services. There's simple frameworks, APIs. There's a decentralized web protocol. Everything is powered by smart contracts, so there, your application can be fully decentralized. There's an application discovery gateway called the DApp Gateway, and then there's the client and browser, the NOS client, which lets end users access the whole thing. So those are some of the coolest features, in my opinion. Of course, because it's an infrastructure, a DApp infrastructure for blockchain-based applications, all the benefits from blockchain come with it. So, if you're using an application, your data is yours. You know exactly what happens when you submit data, when you send data to an application. You know exactly how it's processed. You can verify that everything is correct. There's like a whole bunch of transparency and openness to a sort of decentralized internet that you would not see on a traditional internet. So those are some of the coolest things I think about NOS and just a DApp blockchain infrastructure ecosystem in general.
It's really interesting, the idea of applications built on blockchain, right? Because I think a lot of people, we haven't really seen those killer apps being built yet. The ones that are, having millions of users, like Angry Birds or something like that, or a lot of the other things. And so, as an end user, sell me on blockchain apps. Why would I want to use a blockchain-based application?
All right. Do you use Facebook?
I do.
Are you concerned at all about what Facebook does with your data?
Terribly. The only reason I'm on Facebook is to try to get people off Facebook.
There you go. So you have experienced the issues that come with using a centralized application like Facebook. And there are also people who are very concerned about even using Twitter. I'm not going to go too into that because I also use Twitter. So
don't ban us, Jack.
Yeah. Exactly. Don't ban us, Jack. But the fact that I have to say that I have to treat Twitter like that because I don't want to be shadow banned, that says a lot about Twitter and centralized control of applications. So I think it is a logical next step. I think it is a part of our evolution in the digital space that we go towards this new sort of internet where applications are decentralized and where your data stays your data, and there's no longer a way where one party who built the application can actually keep controlling the application, because that's one of the major differences. One party can build an application, but then the application is owned by everyone and no longer by that one party. And I think that is the most important part from a philosophical standpoint and from an entrepreneurial and just humanitarian standpoint even. Yeah.
Well, this is the interesting thing, is a lot of people don't see the business application of what's going on. You have pages being shut down, accounts being banned, and those accounts have
Yep.
monetary value. Those pages have massive monetary value. Those are people's whole
Yeah.
businesses based on these
Exactly.
platforms, and they're just deleted with no
Right.
recourse, no explanation, and that's a serious thing. And a lot
Yeah.
of
And
go ahead.
yeah, an interesting point that you bring up is because they do have value, and when it gets shut down, the value is gone, right? So an interesting part in terms of value is the val. So there, when the application is no longer owned by one party, how does that one party get the value? You know, how do the other people get value out of that application? And that's another part that blockchain just so happens to solve, because data can be scarce. You know, you can have tokens, you can have items and assets and currencies, and all these things can have actual scarcity, something which was also not existent in the previous, you know, non-blockchain
Yeah.
ecosystems. So this is something that applications can introduce now, so that they can still have value and still generate revenue and value in that way, because blockchain offers that, you know, and NOS does as well because of the selective supply increase. But we can get to that later. But it's an interesting point. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Now, I want to move on to explore one of the next ideas I found really interesting about NOS was the idea of, crypto as a utility token, essentially. So if I can be using, I don't know, Switcheo tokens, for example, or Next tokens or any of that, and be paying my gas fees in that. Is that correct?
Yeah, yeah, you can. Well, so this is for NOS for using tokens, right? So the crypto as a utility token
Yep.
part on the website. Yeah. So this is automatic token conversion or smart token conversion. I also like that phrase. So we'll see which one sticks. uh, the what that does is, if you're using an application, right, and that application has its own token, then and you want to do a certain action on that application, and it requires you to use that token. For example, stake job tokens in order to create a job on the job token app. Very creative, I know. So you can use your NEX tokens. They're security tokens, so I would recommend holding on to those. But you can use any token, NOS token. You can use gas. You can use Neo if you wish. And these tokens can be exchanged automatically for the utility token that you need to use at that moment in time, at that point in time, for that specific action. So if you don't have any job tokens, then you can instantly exchange your tokens to whatever other token you need to complete that action. So that's really cool. And it really takes away from the difficulty, because you no longer need to know how to use exchanges. Right? You can just use the application and you exchange your tokens to the tokens you need while you use the application. So that makes the whole process a lot more simple, because otherwise you have that whole learning curve of how do I buy tokens, how do I sell tokens, etc.
Potentially waiting
then,
on KYC to get confirmed for the exchange and all these different things might take you days to even get the tokens.
Yeah. So automatic token conversion tries to take care of all of that to make it as simple as possible. And then, because we are partnered with NEX, so NEX runs in the backend to exchange these tokens to one another in the backend of NOS. So when NEX introduces fiat integration and such, you don't even need to own any cryptocurrencies at all to use these different applications, these different tokens. You can exchange your fiat from your bank or your credit card or whatever. You can just exchange that to the token at the time you need it. So that makes it the easiest gate, or the easiest bridge from end user, mainstream person who is not necessarily familiar with blockchain and exchanges, can just instantly use applications with tokens without having to learn how to use all of that, how to use blockchain, what blockchain is, what exchanges are, that kind of stuff.
Dean, that's so super exciting, because this is for people who might be thinking about the application of this. This is the thing that I'm always saying for mass adoption. People need to be using blockchain, they need to be using tokens and all this stuff without actually realizing they're using it, because people go out and use Facebook or Twitter or any other service on the internet, and they have no idea what the technology is underlying that. If you talk to them about, I don't know, interplanetary file systems or something like that, like, what are you talking about? I have no idea. But they're using it. They're using it. This is the thing. And so this is what we're going to see happening with blockchain, is that things like NOS are actually going to have people using blockchain in such a seamless way, they're not even going to realize necessarily that they're using it, which is really cool.
Yeah, I mean, how many people know what SSH is or FTP, right? Probably only the developers, or MySQL for database. Even though every application has it in the traditional internet, we're at a point where people do not know, the end user doesn't realize that they are interacting with a PHP backend that's connected to a MySQL database and a React front end and all that stuff. And that should be the same for blockchain. There should be no relation. There should be no learning curve required for the end user to know what tech a certain website or application is running on. We are using Appear in now. I have no idea what the stack is. I have no idea what's running on the back end, and I don't care. It works fine.
It just
right?
works. That's it.
And for an end user, you should know that it runs fine. Have you ever stood still about what backend YouTube runs on?
No.
No,
Don't care.
but it works. So, yeah, exactly.
I'm too busy watching cat videos, man. It was time for that.
Right. So how amazing would it be if you can be busy watching cat videos, so to speak, on a blockchain-based application? That's the kind of thing that NOS wants to do.
Nice. Now, you mentioned Next. Now, you guys have it's like a 2-year partnership with Next, right?
Yeah, two-year partnership, 2-year exclusivity. So Next has the Next Suite, which is their native in-house exchange, right? That's our exchange application, basically. NOS is the only third-party platform that can natively utilize NEX as well. The Next Suite, that is. So you can log in to your Next account directly from NOS and use the NEX Suite directly from NOS. So you can use Next itself for that or NOS. And that's the exclusive part.
Awesome. And I can imagine, too, this is going to be one of those things that really gets people holding tokens. Because let's assume that I come in, I pay with my credit card for something. I might actually get, I don't know, some tokens back from one of the partners, right? And so maybe I get some reward tokens. Now I've got these tokens sitting in my wallet and go, well, what do I do with these? I better find out how to use them or what they're going to be good for or whatever, right? And so it actually starts people dipping their toes in a bit more, too. Now, I want to talk about some of your other partners. So you're also partnered up with Moonlight.
Yeah.
So what are you doing with those guys?
Yeah, so Moonlight also, these guys are also from City of Zion, right? So I am from City of Zion, early developer member of the organization over a year now, back when it started basically, and so is Tyler from Moonlight and their team, Alan and Chris, and then for NEX you have Fabio and their entire team, right? Fabian, and all these guys are from City of Zion. And so we go like way back, at least in crypto time. In blockchain time, we go back for like over a year now, man. That's crazy long time. But yeah, so we have observed each other's platforms being built, and we have helped each other and advised each other, and so these are natural partnerships. We talk to each other like nearly every day, right? Also on City of Zion related stuff and Neo related stuff and just blockchain in general. And Moonlight as a platform, the Moonlight application allows you to create jobs, right, on a decentralized network, and then you can find the right users for those jobs, and also users can find the jobs that they want to complete. So if you are a freelancer or if you are self-employed, you can actually just select the things you want to do for different projects. So you always have fun, you always know exactly what you're going to do, and you always know you're going to get paid, and that the reputation of the people, your employers, are good, and vice versa. So it's like a whole new freelancer job network, but it's completely decentralized. I think it's really cool, and that platform will run on NOS as well. So that will be an application on NOS, and NOS likewise. We are an open platform, open to community contributors. So NOS can utilize Moonlight to create community tasks for completing certain tasks on our code base. So we will actually use Moonlight ourselves as a platform. So people will be able to log into NOS if they're developers and they want to contribute to NOS, and we give rewards to community contributions. Then they can do that, log into Moonlight through NOS, and then check out our jobs that we have available for people. So there's like a two-way partnership kind of thing, and it's very natural. Yeah,
it's really cool to see all these Neo projects working together.
Yeah,
Actually, I feel
yeah.
like that's how the ecosystem is going to build out. That's how the community is going to build out and actually provide value for everyone within that community. And now
Yeah.
there's are there any other partnerships that we have coming up?
Yeah, yeah. So we are partnering with Triphala as well, which we have coming up. This is the Triphala application is really cool. It's a decentralized booking platform, so you can book your hotels everywhere in the world. They have like over 250,000 hotels available now, I think, around the world, and they're also going to support flights and stuff. So they're like a serious Booking.com competitor. They're going to be cheaper. They're cheaper as well. Right now, you can go on there and check the prices. They are cheaper than the centralized alternatives because you essentially pay the suppliers directly instead of having to pay the middleman
Mm.
like Booking.com. So that's really cool. So it's a really cool use case, and it's actually up and running already. And this will also be supported as a very easy to use application on NOS. Once again, when you start NOS, you can use all these applications. You know, if you want to use Moonlight, you click on the Moonlight app and you are gone. You can use Moonlight. You don't need to log in separately or whatever. Same goes for Triphala. You want to use Triphala, you go to the Triphala app and your data is there because your NOS account holds your identity. Well, you hold your identity yourself. So um, it provides that identity to the application. So that's really cool. And then some of the contents of that partnership is we are going to incentivize users together, Triphala and NOS, to make bookings on Triphala through the NOS client. So that will bring benefits. We'll incentivize that. You will be able to earn NOS and AVA tokens and stuff like that.
Cool.
And the NOS token will also be an accepted token for paying for your bookings and your flights on Triphala. So you can actually use your NOS tokens for that. It's like a fun extra feature.
Yeah,
Yeah.
great. Well, let's see. You can get the tokens. They go up. Let's say they go up in value, and then you can get like a free flight out of it. Cash out, take some of your
Yeah.
profits. So sounds like a winning combination to me. So I'm imagining the user experience will be something like it's I open up my Google Chrome, right, and
Hmm.
I go to a website and it says you can log in with Facebook, for example, and that's kind of how I feel like the NOS experience is going to be. You're just going to go and it's going to be there, and you're just going to be able to, okay, I'll just go and use Triphala and just log in here, and I'm already logged into the NOS client, so just click
Yeah,
on the
you can
thing and
try
I'm
it
good to
out now.
go.
We have NOS client is already available, so you can download it and start it. Log in with your Neo account, and we have about 60, 70 community built DApps out already, which members of the community built, and we have a top 15 out. And you can just go to those applications and you can try them out. And there's applications, really cool use cases like a decentralized betting platform where you can with your friends it's already running. It's really cool actually. You can invite your friends to like this decentralized betting thing, this room, and then you can make a game and set like a couple of possible results, and then everyone can place bets on those results. And then at the end of the game, you set like when it should end. You can do a voting session and vote on what what the correct outcome is. So you need to trust your friends that they will vote on who the actual winner is of like a soccer game or something.
Yep.
And then the winnings are distributed, and the actual outcome is
Cool.
set. So it doesn't use oracles; it uses decentralized voting. But it's like a decentralized betting app, which I think is a really cool use case. And there's like a bunch of other applications as well, which are actually pretty exciting as well. And what's cool about it is these people, they may not necessarily know how to work with blockchain and smart contracts because NOS APIs are very simple to use, and so is the Neo VM, which is what runs the smart contracts. So these people, they built their application with like Python or C# for the smart contracts, and then JavaScript for the front end, and it barely makes any difference between between this and how you would build a normal web application. So it's like building a regular web app. So that's like a really cool way that we introduce simplicity, and it's already all working and out. So
Nice. Now you've brought up smart contracts, and that's a good segue into the next conversation, which is universal smart contracts. Now, universal smart contracts. First, what are they? And second, how universal can a smart contract really be?
that's a good question. So universal smart contracts are essentially starter kit templates. So a developer has their like everything ready to go. like if you're familiar with web applications, you have in PHP you have like Laravel and Yi2, which I personally like, and those are starter kits where everything is kind of already set up, and you can just kind of customize it to your needs. So it's like a template, right? And then there's also master universal smart contracts, and those are smart contracts which are already running on the blockchain, on the mainnet, and these hold like a bunch of familiar functions. Like you can register a token there, for example, and then you can distribute it and use it like as a token, and it's all running on the same smart contract. And then another one can utilize that exact same smart contract, the exact same address, and they can register like a domain service on it or a digital item service, stuff like that. And so it kind of takes away from the difficulty of having to create a smart contract from scratch, because when you start out in the smart contract world, you are going to learn how to set up the compiler, and then you're going to open up like Visual Studio Code or some program, and you have like this empty window, and you're just like, all right, now what? Hello world, I guess. It's not fun. It's never fun to learn a new mechanic or a new system, and having to do everything over again or read a book or something. Who's time for that? So this universal smart contracts, the templates and the master USCs take away from that and make it as easy as possible to just start and do what you want to do.
Nice. Now,
and then for your question, how universal are they? So the templates are quite universal because, for the Neo VM, for example, if you run it on Neo, you can customize it in any way you want, right? But then with the smart contract that's already master USC, which is already running, that has the restrictions that were set when the smart contract was deployed. That can only do a limited amount of things, but you can use the others, the normal USC as your regular starting point. And then we will just deploy these and build these for Neo, for Ethereum to start with, and then any other platform that NOS will support based on how easy it is to build smart contracts on it and how much developers want it. We will be building other USCs for these other platforms as well, or the community. It's a community project, so anyone can contribute.
Nice. I want to explore that idea a little bit deeper. It's kind of going to be part of my next question, and that was about the interoperability. You mentioned Ethereum already, and so obviously Ethereum right now, in terms of blockchains, it's got the most projects built on top of it. But we see a lot of other competitors coming up, whether it be EOS or NEM or any of the others that we have out there, right? So how interoperable is NOS actually going to be with all these different chains? Because obviously not everyone's going to come and build on Neo, right?
No, absolutely. That's a good question. I recommend people who are new to smart contracts to try out Neo because it has the familiar languages, which is just a very, very convenient. But of course, there are people who are already familiar with Ethereum, and EOS has smart contracts in C++. So obviously, if you are good with C++, you can choose to do the Neo C++ compiler or use EOS. We don't want to limit anyone in that sense. So NOS is as I said, it's a virtual operating system, right? It is a DApp infrastructure, and the underlying part can be powered by any smart contract platform. It can be integrated into our APIs. So if you want to build on EOS, then you can build the API module for NOS to support EOS. Or if a lot of people like it, then we can support that as well. So any smart contract platform can be supported by NOS by default. That's the way that our infrastructure is built.
Very, very cool. Now, we've mentioned some of the potential competitors, I suppose. So compared to some of the others out there, we have, Elastos or EOS and on and on. Who do you see as being your biggest competitors for what it is that you're trying to deliver? And what makes you, I suppose, better than that competition?
Yeah, I think with our approach, first off, the term competition is an interesting term in the blockchain world, because look at where we are.
I know, right?
If I yell to my neighbors, "Hey, what blockchain platform do you like?" They're gonna be like
"Shut up, crazy person,
crazy guy." Yeah. What is a blockchain? So that's where we're at this point, right? So and so competition is not the right sense of the word. I feel like every platform is doing the right thing if they're trying to bring more people into the valuing decentralization and valuing blockchain. So get that out of the way. There's a nice term which I read in one of the NEO or the City of Zion publications, which was co-opetition. Sounds really stuck up, I know. You know what I mean? But it's a great term. It's a great term because it means that you are cooperating in the sense that you are working together to bring more people into the space, to bring more people into valuing decentralization, and you progress by. My phone is going off. I'm sorry. And you progress by competing, because you want to best each other. You want to be the best platform. So in that sense, you are competing, but you are cooperating and bringing in more people for sure.
Nice.
So that out of the way. And then so a lot of people in the community, they or a lot of people in the Elastos community, I believe, compare NOS to Elastos often, or maybe just in general. I mentioned before that I believe that there's a vast difference in approach, where Elastos is taking care of like a blockchain infrastructure approach, where they are building from the ground up, from the technical side when it comes to underlying blockchain, right? Instead of releasing the simple to use APIs that NOS offers, they are offering like the carrier system with the TV box right now, I believe, right? So they are working on decentralizing their network, and NOS is building that adoption layer. So NOS is doing the adoption, and they're doing like the lower level, not lower level in terms of appreciation, because it's great, but lower level as in more technical side, where they are building that infrastructure side. And then something else I know with Elastos is they are trying to isolate applications, right, from the internet. They should only be able to communicate with each other, but not with the regular internet. NOS is more hybrid in that sense. I personally believe that applications should be able to communicate with the regular internet if the application chooses to do that, as long as it's transparent to the user, as long as the user can approve that. So and because I feel like that opens up a lot more. I feel like Elastos is very idealistic in that sense, where there's a lot of limitations that come to that, and it's a very a cool idea, but how long is it going to take for that infrastructure to actually get the utility that they envision, right? Because it requires a lot of applications before you build a completely new internet. You want to be able to use, for example, a social network or a centralized database that's running on the regular internet if you want to. And with NOS, that's possible. Again, this is my interpretation. I am not 100% sure on any of this. Regarding Elastos, I'm not an Elastos expert by any means, so this is just my personal interpretation, and I'm gonna say this right now. Please do your own research, because anyone who's listening to me will realize that I am biased for NOS, and that's of course.
In case
right?
you didn't see the shirt, guys.
Right. I mean, so I just want to make sure that this is my interpretation, and it's an objective interpretation, I believe. But if people wanna do their own comparison, like I built this opinion by checking out their white paper and checking out their GitHub. So maybe you find something else, that's fine, you know. But please, yeah.
Well, Dean, we take it right back to what you were talking about 3 or 4 minutes ago here, and that's the idea of they're not competitors. It's just these are different solutions for everyone to try and get to the same end, and everyone can work together for ideals, that end.
Different approaches.
That's right. If they succeed, then you're more likely to succeed too, and it just everybody wins together at this point. You know, we're not to that red ocean time really with blockchain yet, but really far from it. Everyone's still experimenting with these new ideas. So
it's going to take a lot of trial and error from everyone involved. Anyone saying that one single technology is already the be-all, end-all technology and everything is going to be perfect and it only takes this and that to do it is completely wrong. Everyone is going to make mistakes. Yeah. Yeah, no, it's going to take a lot of trial and error, and you're going to be seeing that from all the platforms. And eventually, everyone improves together. Everyone learns from each other. And while we do it, more people show interest. And then they will be using different platforms. Maybe maybe they'll use one for a while and then transition, or also use another. It's look at how the internet started. You know,
Yeah, well, that's
it's
it.
slow progression, and now especially with social media out and everything, everyone is very lazy in the sense that they already feel like they have everything they need. So it takes even more time and effort from our side, and you can only do that together.
That's
So
right.
you're competing, but you need each other to succeed, for the blockchain and decentralization to succeed in general.
Well, that's the thing is that I feel like a lot of people lose sight of who you're actually competing with because the competition question is you're not competing with EOS, you're not competing with Elastos, you're actually
No.
competing with, Google and Facebook
Yeah.
and all these giant centralized services that have really they served their purpose, they had their time, but their time is ending
Yeah.
now. And for
Yeah.
anyone out there who's looking for the next thing, well, we're talking about the next thing right now. So, take
Mhm.
notes, I suppose. Now, Dean, one final question before we finish up here. NOS decided to do the lottery model for the ICO.
Mhm.
Why did you guys go with this lottery model? Can you give us a few details about the lottery?
Yeah. Okay. So we had a selection period where everyone could apply to our token sale, and with limited KYC information, like first name, last name, date of birth, and your number, and no scans or locations or anything like that, and no selfies, and based on your neo address, we hashed the neo address, and then we took a block in the future from the neo mainnet, and then we basically checked that hash, and then we basically sorted everything based on this hash. So we had a random selection, and the reason that we did this is because, one, we want to include the most people we can, so we had like quite a large amount that we would select of people. And then we also wanted it to be as fair as possible. First come, first serve doesn't really work well. You don't know how many people will be refreshing, and eventually if your server is going to crash or something
Yeah,
like that.
gas wars and all the rest of it, right?
Wars where people who know how to and possess the gas are going to come in first. That
I
kind of
think there was a
stuff.
guy this year who paid like $25,000 to be first on an ICO. How does the regular person compete with that? I want to invest $500. Well, that guy just paid $25,000 to get in front of you.
Yeah, and then he put in $500 as well, right?
Yeah.
For the actual contribution. That'll be beautiful.
Oh man.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
but it
wish
just
someone
shows
had
you how
that much faith in
broken
our
how
people.
broken the ICO world is, and I love that projects like NOS or Nex, you guys are actually you're delivering higher quality ICOs, and I just hope that other ICOs looking in will actually learn from the example you guys are setting because a lot of ICOs they're not incentivized to deliver more for the community. They're not incentivized to be fair. They're incentivized to take as much money as possible, as quickly as possible
Hmm.
from the
Hmm.
big VCs and the whales and all this stuff, and they don't actually care about how do we develop a community? Who cares about community? Let's just sell out
Yeah,
and get as much money as quickly as possible. So the lottery
yeah, no,
model, I
that's
like it. It's
ridiculous.
cool.
Yeah, so the lottery it definitely is one part of that because we wanted the selection to be fair, and this is basically the fairest model that is known right now. This is the fairest thing there is because, well, it's a lottery, right?
Yeah.
How yeah, it's fair in a way. Of course, there are still things that make it unfair, like people who enter fake details, and fake passports and stuff like that. We are very paying a lot of attention to that. We are doing manual review of everything that's getting declined by our KYC provider. So we are doing that very carefully. And then there's a second round lottery as well, which is starting on the 15th, Monday, and then taking 1 week, so until the 22nd. And people will be able to apply again because the first round lottery, everyone who did not complete their KYC is going to have their lottery entry redistributed in this second lottery. So this is
Mm.
our way for people who missed the first lottery. We want to include those as well, so we give them an opportunity again to contribute. Yeah. And then
Great.
and then for the first round in our token sale, we are going to have a fair distribution where everyone has a guaranteed allocation, right? If literally everyone would max that out, the public sale would already be sold out. That's basically the idea. So that way the contributions are as fair as possible as well, where we try to spread out the token as much as possible. Everyone who wants it should be able to get a good chance to get it, and that's what we really try to do with our model. And then what you said about thank you, by the way. That's a great compliment that you think we're doing a good job. One thing that I think is very important with token sales and ICOs and projects, is to release a working project before releasing the token. There's no reason why, with a minimal amount of funds, we self-funded for like a whole bunch before we released the MVP. Basically, everything was self-funded, the whole development process, because we wanted to build a working project before releasing, before doing the token sale. And so we announced the project. We didn't even have the white paper out yet, but we did have a code base and a working platform that people could use and try out. And then we're also registered in Malta, so we want to be 100% compliant. And that has also succeeded. So that has also taken some time, is to make sure that we are as compliant and regulatory, legal as possible. So we are planning not to get into any future troubles by making sure that that's all 100% taken care of. Compliance is a big deal. And it always will be, because, you know, we live in a society, right? It's a meme. I don't know if you know that. We live in a society. So we need to, so this is, everything we did has been for the sake of making sure that people cannot get screwed over later. You know, we have had no bonuses in our private sale or pre-sale. The only one we gave a bonus was our angel investor NGC, because they gave us the seed funding like half a year before we did the ICO, you know, so they took a great risk with that. So we gave them a slight bonus for that, and then other than that, private sale, pre-sale, no bonuses anymore. So we try to be as fair as possible to the public sale, for the sake of wanting to build that community, wanting to be regulatory compliant, and just wanting to make sure that everyone can be satisfied and has the opportunity to participate.
Very, very cool. Dean, thank you so much for taking the time to sit down today and tell us all about NOS. I know we just scratched the surface with it, but for anybody who wants more details, there'll be links down below. You can go and check out the website and see what's going on with Twitter and all that stuff. So check out that down below. And Dean, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me, and thank you for your time as well.
Absolute pleasure.